Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Wrench Restorations. I'm Steve. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So the last video we were working on this 1945 International Harvester TD-6 crawler, and we removed most of the interferences on the left side of the engine here. We did the pre-cleaner, the air filter, the air intake manifold, the exhaust manifold, the carburetor, and oh yeah, the fuel tank for starting on gas. So all those components have been removed. Obviously I'm going to have to go through and clean them, and we're going to do a video on rebuilding the carburetor. That's coming, I promise. But I'm kind of in that mode. I want to keep taking stuff apart. In that last video, if you remember, I said I'm probably going to pretty much get the engine stripped down, primed and painted, because when I put in all these new filters and the manifolds and everything, I don't want to have to buy the gaskets over again. It starts to add up and get expensive. Well, that air cleaner that mounted here on the firewall was a pretty lengthy process getting that off, and there's actually gaskets that seal it on these two sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do this firewall also. We'll go ahead and get that removed, cleaned and painted, and then in order for me to get the firewall off, here we go, A leads to B leads to C. I've got to start taking some of these fender brackets off, and the fenders, seat and tank have to come off anyway to get to the access panels for the left hand steering clutch that's stuck. So we're going to start tearing a bunch of stuff apart. In the process from that, I'll probably take this front tin work off the grill, but I want to test the radiator to see if it leaks. Right now it's currently empty, and the drain valve or petcock for it is stuck in the open position. So I've got to take that off, clean it, lubricate it, make sure that it can open and close. And I want to fill this radiator, let it sit for the night, and see if I got any leaks or anything. Now's the time to find that out instead of after it's already been painted. Now that still doesn't get me out of the woods. Even if I fill this with water and I don't have any leaks, it could always spring one later. Once we get this thing running, it gets up to temperature, it gets some pressure in it, we might find some leaks, but we'll deal with crossing that bridge when we get there. So for today's video, let's go ahead and get these interferences removed, and then probably the next one we'll start working on getting the carburetor apart and rebuilding everything. So I got the drain plug freed up, put a little coil on there, worked it back and forth. It's kind of spring loaded. It can go all the way around, and I guess it's just kind of like a ball valve. So, alright, I think that's shut. I've got a pan under here to catch the water just in case, just because I don't like working in a mess. And we'll keep your fingers crossed that this holds water. Gallon number 2. No drips or leaks yet. I am very thankful that whoever put this in storage drained the engine block, the radiator, the gas tank, the diesel tank, because I think it may have actually saved this thing. So we're not completely safe yet, but I think we're going to be good. Going for gallon number 3. Still nothing in the pan. Gallon number 3. So far so good. Well, that's not good. On my way to get gallon number 4. Alright, well, it's draining out of the drain. Okay, that's weird. I guess that's not closed. Now I don't know how many gallons are in there. Alright, I thought that was closed. It's not. That's weird that it took that long. Oh, you know, it probably had like a dirt dauber nest in there or something. It's not the easiest thing to get to, that's for sure. Oh hell, that's a backwards looking valve. So right now the valve is lined up with the flow of the drain, which to me is opposite. Typically they would be perpendicular to each other. Alright, well, I guess we flushed the drain out. Alright, well, let's keep adding some more water. This is gallon 4. I'm probably going to see if I can't dump this pan into here too. See what kind of mess I can make there. Scared me for a minute. I came around the corner, heard the water flowing. I guess I don't need to count the gallons. The last thing I want to do is dump that in here if it had some dirt. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, a little sediment in there. I'll just dump this out and start over. I ended up wiping out the drain pan with a rag because any of the residual water that was in there could give me a false positive. And I wouldn't be sure if it came from the radiator or if it was what was already in there. Just fill it to the top. I'm filling the block too, so it's going to take a bit. Alright, we came back. Saw some water dripping down there. It looks like it's coming out of the drain for the block, so I haven't touched it yet. Need to see if I'll be able to turn that or not. Let me go get a wrench. Wow, I was still recording on that, but not pointing at it. I literally was able to turn that by hand. Let's see if I can get in there, you can see. Oh, now it's stuck. Anyway, I was able to close it by hand and the water stopped, so that's good. Alright, let me wipe this pan out again. Alright, I saw another little drip over here. You can see it down there on the frame. The good thing is, when I come around, let me get this wiring out of the way. You can see it's coming out of the gasket from the bolster to this line here. So that gasket, I'm sure, is all dried out and it's leaking, but the good thing is I can replace that. That's easy. Nothing from the radiator so far. It's still dry inside there. So we'll keep filling. So far, so good. Alright, so I got it pretty much filled, and as you can see, this hose on the top is just gone, and it's dripping down all the way through and making a mess now. But looking in here, the radiator's looking dry, and that's all I care about. Hoses, easy to replace. Dried out gaskets, no problem. So I'm just gonna let that sit. It's pretty much full. Let that sit for the night and make sure I don't have anything weeping in these sections tomorrow. Okay, so when doing this to look for leaks, another thing you want to check for is the oil. So I know where the oil is marked off in the dipstick right now. I know it's clean. It doesn't appear there's any water in there. So having this radiator filled and putting water into the water jackets and the engine will give me a good indication. Also, I check the oil tomorrow to make sure the block's not cracked. Head gasket, any of the cylinder sleeves are cracked or broken. I don't think they would be, for the fact that, like I said, it looks like they did a great job draining everything out, preparing it for those Pennsylvania winters. So just something to keep in mind when you add the water. Keep an eye on the oil too, because the two don't mesh well together. Alright, now that we're done playing with the radiator and water, let's go ahead and start getting some of this stuff apart. Hopefully you won't hear the water dripping in the background too bad. It's like a Chinese water torture. Alright, so this seat's definitely going to get replaced. In fact, I don't even have the bottom cushion anymore. This one looks like they used green vinyl from a school bus. But anyway, we won't be saving this, but I do want to save part of it. This should just slide up and pop out. And on the back here, I've got some metal plates that have the hooks in there for the back of the tank. So at a minimum, I want to save those. In case I want to build a new frame for a new cushion, whatever. They do have aftermarket ones. I'm not sure the price or the availability, but we'll end up getting those. Alright, the next couple things I'm going to tackle is I'm going to get this light off. Looks like it's just 2 bolts, there's no wiring. Finally going to get rid of this nasty battery box cover, just 2 bolts here. And then we'll start seeing what we're dealing with as far as removing fenders, tank, and seat assembly. It's pretty straightforward, I think. So I'm not going to record the whole thing, but if I run into any snags, I'll definitely be sure to record it, let you know what's going on. Alright, rear light came off no problem, 2 3/4 inch bolts. I thought this was pretty interesting. This is the battery tray, and it sets on a set of springs. And of course, everything's frozen right now, it doesn't move, but how cool is that, that it's got built-in shock absorbers. Alright, let's get this battery cover off and continue on. Alright, getting the fuel tank off. Obviously, if you have fuel in yours, you're going to have to empty it. And if your fuel lines are hooked up, you're going to have to remove those. Remember, you have a supply from the tank to the injection pump and a return from the injection pump back to the tank. So this is what I've got for the left side, and the right side is the same. We've got 3 bolts with nuts that went into the spots here, here, and under the fender. We've got 2 smaller bolts, and those went into the tank on the top and on the bottom. And then these 4 holes for the bracket down here are these 4 bigger bolts. So I'm going to remove the ones from the right hand side, and the tank should come off. Then we'll get with the fenders. Man, it's hot out. Whew, this thing's working me. Alright, so there are an additional 2 bolts on each side at the top of that fender bracket also. Thought, man, this thing's really jammed in here. So they should slide out. And I use that term loosely because it probably won't be easy. It's been in here for 81 years, but it'll come. Let's see if I can use the leg as a jack. There we go. Alright, so note to self, there's a small plate here that goes between the fender and this wall on the outside of it, and it slides in here. It kind of fits the contour of the tank. There's one on each side. Like I said, it goes on the outside of this side bolster and between there and the fender. So one of those on each side. I'm just going to go ahead and finish unbolting these 2 side pieces of the seat and tank frame, and then we'll get the fenders after that. Alright, got 4 more nuts and bolts off the front of the inside of this like armrest fender, and I left the cross braces installed. I'll deal with those later. I don't even know if I'm necessarily going to take those apart. Sorry, I had my back to you. This piece just slides in, and then there's 2 bolts on that side. So anyway, cosmetic stuff. This out the way. This is more for me, just for historical purposes, so I remember how this goes back together. But there's this angle iron brace here. It's got 4 bolts that go into the transmission top case, and then you have your fender, but there's another piece of metal in here. You can see it has a top and bottom bolt. Top, and well, there's no bottom one there, but anyway, that's like another plate. So you have the angle iron, this plate, and then the fender, and then of course that other little curved piece that was down here for the tank. So it'd be nice if it was just like a one-piece thing, but you know, 1940s technology, you know, they machine things and bend things. You kind of limited with what they had. So, but anyway, that's kind of a weird oddball way that goes together. And same thing on this side. You get the bracket, this plate, and then the fenders on the outside of that plate. All right, I got the fenders off. I've had this thing probably about 2 months, and the first 2 weeks that I had it, it sat on my trailer in storage, and I went through a whole can, the big tall can from Northern of the Croyle penetrating oil, and I sprayed every single nut and bolt that I could find on this thing. So far, I mean, this is a bag of nuts and bolts just from the left fender. Again, IH over-engineered as usual, which I guess is a good thing. Anyway, I've only had 1 bolt break, and it was on the other side, one of those panels, and it's nothing I could have done. I didn't even know that bolt was there. So I am removing these angle irons because eventually we're going to have to take this plate off when we do the clutches. The one thing you need to remember about these bolts is they do go through down into the clutch housing. So now that I've got that removed, I'm going to go ahead and put these bolts in just so that I'm not dropping debris down inside there. It's got to come apart and get cleaned anyway, but it'll just prevent stuff from getting in there. Plus, I won't lose the bolts. It's already going to be hard enough to figure out these. So basically what I'll do with this is I'll go through and I'll count how many of each size and length. I'll go to my local hardware, not hardware store, but fastener store. It's called Tidewater Fasteners in Norfolk. And just have them give me however many I need of each one. So I'll get these over there, get that other angle iron off, and I think that might wrap it up for today. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for today's video. I know it probably wasn't really too exciting or technical, but sometimes that's just the nature of the beast. So I checked the radiator. Fortunately, there's still no leaks or anything coming from any of the cooling fins, which is great. Got a huge pile of tin over here after getting all the fenders and tank and seat and everything off. And I already pulled some of it out, but there was a plate that went across here inside the fender, and you can see there's probably about an inch of just dirt and debris. There was hay and newspapers in here. So this is what happens when you don't take things apart to clean them. Sometimes you'll have the lipstick on the pig restoration where somebody will just kind of pressure wash the outside and spray it down, and yeah, it's got that 10-foot paint job where it looks good, and then you're dealing with stuff like that, you know, trapped dirt, hay, grass. It just retains moisture, ends up rotting out metal, and you know, your nice paint job turns into a mess underneath after a while. So anyway, I'm happy with the progress we got today. Got a lot done. It looks pretty cool without the fenders. I ain't gonna lie. I might not put them back on. I know that's like a signature thing for these, but I really like the open track concept. You know, they actually did make a version of this, as did Caterpillar, where it was a tail seat version. So basically the seat sat off the back here, so the operator was lower for like orchard conditions. Basically it looked like a John Deere Lindemann crawler. The seat was hanging off the back. So I'm not saying we're going to do that with this one, but I don't know if I'm going to put the fenders on because I like it without them. Anyway, starting to ramble. Y'all have a great weekend. Catch you in the next one.